1997, he has been a speech contest addict, having competed in over 100 club area division and district speech contests. But there was one type of speech contest he avoided for the longest time, the humorous speech contest, because he's not a funny guy. Ask any of his friends or family and they'll tell you he's way too serious and simply cannot tell a joke well. Despite this, he won the 2011 Humorous Speech Championship. However, for purposes of tonight's talk, it will be what he learned from losing the 2008 Humorous Speech Contest that is most important. Please help me welcome Brendan, even though he is seriously unfunny.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and any guests that are out there. This speech is a tale of two tales, but also it involves the case study of the tights that were too tight. But most importantly, this is an invitation, an exhortation, a request that you do something, and that something is to compete in the upcoming Humorous Speech Contest, which starts this August in your club, I believe, on August 23rd. And what I want you to do is share a humorous tale on August 23rd here with the rest of your clubmates, and one of you will start the journey to the Humorous Speech Championship in November. For me, this journey all started in the year 2000, and it involved a wardrobe malfunction. I was volunteered to be Santa. Now, not the normal Santa that you think, the kind that has kids sit on his lap. Having a wardrobe malfunction there would be bad enough. But this was slightly worse. I was dragged in at the last moment to be Santa at church on Christmas Eve for the special children's celebration on Christmas Eve. And I was dragged in, I was willing to do it, I was actually kind of excited about it. And then I had a problem, a wardrobe malfunction. Because you see, Santa outfits are supposed to have the jacket go to right above the knee. My outfit was up around my waist, and I thought that was fine. Until I went to pick up my Santa bag, and I heard a rip. And I was like, so I immediately checked behind me, and didn't feel any tears. I was like, whew. I didn't know what was happening. And then I went to the full-length mirror, and I saw that the problem was a rip on the front, in the middle of my body. Not a good place to have a rip. I was scheduled to go on in 3 minutes. Everything was going, all the kids were excited, Santa was going to come in front of the church. So I scrounged around the office area, and I found some ancient safety pins. And I thought I was really clever because I put them on the inside to kind of give Santa a little zipper. So I didn't think it would look that bad. And I was feeling confident. And as Santa, I went out in front of 1,200 people, half of them children under the age of 8. And my job at the very front of the church was to raise a little statue of the baby Jesus up above my head in celebration of Christmas. And when I did, those ancient safety pins became unsafe. And because they were on the inside, they pointed at me in the middle of my middle. This was not a good situation. It only took me 8 years to kind of laugh about it and say, you know what, that would be a good humorous tale. I even went so far as to buy red tights and wear them, which in itself caused a lot of laughter, which is a blow to my ego to this day. But I went out and I had a great time. I made it to the finals and I had laugh after laugh. And when I finished with my story about my wardrobe malfunction, I was convinced I had won. I had the audience in the palm of my hand, and we had an amazing time. When they announced the third place finisher, it wasn't me, of course. When they announced the second place finisher, it wasn't me, of course. And when they announced the first place finisher, the person who was going to get that big humorous speech championship trophy, it wasn't me, of course. I was devastated. I didn't understand. This was the first time I had ever done the humorous speech contest. I enjoyed the process, except for that last result. I thought I deserved to win. What was wrong with those judges? And I said, you know what? I like the other contests. I like table topics, evaluation, international speech. Forget humorous speech. It's just a joke. Excuse the pun. It's not good for anything anyway outside of Toastmasters. So I was done with it until 3 years later, I went into an elevator at work. I pressed the button, the elevator shot up real fast and stopped. The lights fizzled out. And I pressed the open button, the door wouldn't open. The place was shaky, and I went to reach for the elevator safety phone, emergency phone. There was no phone in there. And what was the first thing I thought of? As a Toastmaster, I'm thinking, this might be a good story. So I said, you know what? I'm going to use this for the humorous speech contest because I learned a lesson why I was stuck. And I put this idea together to make a humorous speech contest, and it was all about what I learned. I had, I would say, 3 real laughs and 3 or 4 chuckles throughout the speech. At the end, however, I told the story about when the repairman came to me and knocked on the other side of the elevator, and he said, "Open the door." And I was like, "Open the door?" And I'm pressing the button. The door doesn't open. He says, "No, open the door." So I'm thinking this guy's just playing with me, right? He says, no, go up and just open the door. And I realized those hours I spent in that elevator could have been minutes if I had truly accepted the fact that I wasn't stuck, but I believed I was stuck. And that was an important message for me in my life as well as in that elevator. When I finished my speech, I felt good about it, and then the person came on who I thought was hilarious. I thought I had lost because of LPM, laughs per minute. When you think humorous speech contest, naturally you're probably thinking laughter, laughter, laughter. I told a speech which I thought had an important point with some laughs in it and some fun. This guy had a laugh, I swear, every 20 seconds for a 7-minute speech. He basically riffed on food and weird aspects about food. It was hilarious. I knew I had lost, except one thing at the back of my mind, that there's a difference between a comedian and a humorist. A comedian and a humorist do different things. That guy was a comic. He had a great comic bit. But like my silly speech about my wardrobe malfunction, it didn't have a point. It didn't have a message. And as you see on the humorous speeches judge's guide, you'll see that humor and audience reaction is 15, speech value is 15, and the rest of the stuff that we learn in the Competent Communication Manual is all there. But only 15 points are about audience reaction. Now, if this were a judge's guide for a comedy contest, it would be 100 points for laughter, for audience reaction. That's what all that would matter. But in the humorous speech, there's something different. And I was fortunate enough that day that the judges followed this guide. And when they announced 3rd place, I wasn't announced, naturally, because I thought I had lost. 2nd place, I wasn't announced. But 1st place, for that big trophy, I was announced as the humorous speech champion. And I learned the difference between just having a good time and having a message. It was very powerful for me to realize the power of humorous speech. humorous speech is extremely powerful. So now I want to invite you to take your turn at the humorous speech contest. My goal tonight is to get every one of you here to commit to competing on August 23rd at the club level here. Now, not all of you will win, just one will win. But I believe if you prepare and you give a humorous speech on August 23rd, you will be a winner because you will be empowered by this. This piece of paper, I believe, is the most important and the best thing that Toastmasters International has ever published. They've published a lot of great stuff. I love their materials. This humorous speech contest judge's guide is something that I ignored. I basically ignored when I competed the first time. But I learned from my ignorance that this is extremely powerful. Not just for winning a nice trophy or having fun at speech contest, but for speaking outside the club. If you ever want to deliver a serious message outside the club, especially if you're relaying important information, this is your model. Now some people may talk about the International Speech Contest, which we do in spring, and it's going to end at the International Convention in a few weeks, how important that is. That is a great speaking style, especially if you want to speak at weddings or funerals or maybe a retirement or two. But for speaking in front of the public in general, this humorous speech guide is what it's all about. You have to deliver a message that is clear and powerful and has value, but you have to do it with some fun, with a little bit of humor, because that emotion makes your message stick. So if you ever want to speak outside the club, this is your model. This is your guide, not the international speech, and this incorporates everything you learn in all your other manuals. The archetypal American humorist is Mark Twain, and I think he sums up this point about humorous speech very well with this quote, that he never intended to say anything funny. He always had a serious point. The humor just somehow found a way in there. And that's what you have to do. Now some of us have better joke-telling skills than the others. My brothers can tell a joke, I cannot. But we can all have fun. And when I did my elevator speech when I was stuck, I had fun with the experience. I didn't tell witty lines or anything like that. I just had fun. And I had a serious point as well at the end. And in the summary, I believe I won it when I said, don't forget to do this, avoid the elevator, take the stairs, and most important, never allow yourself to believe that you are stuck. And when I finished that speech, I think that is how I won it, because that speech had value, at least for me, and I hope the audience. So, in summary, make sure your speech has value, inside of Toastmasters or outside, but August 23rd, when you compete here, make sure that speech has some value for the audience. Know that you're not supposed to be a comedian. Have fun with the audience, maybe there's some funny lines, but don't focus on that. Enjoy the experience, and the audience will enjoy it with you, and the humor, have it come out organically. And most importantly, never wear tights for public speaking event, ever. I believe if you follow this Toastmasters Judge's Guide Bout for humorous speech, that you will grow in amazing ways, and you indeed will be a humorous speaker, even if you're like me and are seriously unfunny. Mr. Toastmaster.